Marcus Rashford story. Name written in 12 minutes.
There is a particular kind of Manchester United story that only it gets told once a generation. The one where a teenager nobody outside Carrington has heard is thrown into a European night out of pure necessity. And by the final whistle, the club has a new hero. On the evening of February 25, 2016, Manchester United needed a goal with trailing FC Midtjylland 2-1 on aggregate in the Europa League. Anthony Marshall had just pulled up in the warm-up, and Louis van Gaal under mounting pressure in the twilight of a difficult rain. Had no fit forward left on his bench, except an 18-year-old academy graduate who had never played a first-team minute in his life. His name was Marcus Rashford. United were 3-1 down on aggregate early in the second half when Rashford came on, pouncing on a pullback from Wamada to level the tie, then converting a cross from Guillermo Varela 12 minutes later to complete the turnaround. In just over an hour of first-team football, an unknown teenager had become the club's youngest scorer in European competition, eclipsing a record held by George Best. United won 5-1 on the night.
The Marcus Rashford story. Name written in 12 minutes.
There is a particular kind of Manchester United story that only it gets told once a generation. The one where a teenager nobody outside Carrington has heard is thrown into a European night out of pure necessity. And by the final whistle, the club has a new hero. 3 days later, with the football world still trying to work out who this kid was, Van Gaal named him again, this time in the Premier League against Arsenal at Old Trafford. Rashford scored twice on his Premier League debut. Dylan blowed Arsenal's titles in a 3-2 and following his double against Midtjylland just 3 days earlier. He opened the scoring in the 29th minute at a powerful header 3 minutes later, before setting up United's third goal for Ander Herrera. 2 full debutes, 4 goals, 6 days. Even the opposition manager was stunned. Arsene Wenger admitted afterward that he had been taken aback by Rashford's talent, specifically the timing of his movement and his football intelligence, and suggested the teenager could be a serious asset for Manchester United going forward. Van Gaal, never a man given to hyperbole, went further, comparing Rashford's debut favorably to those of some of the game's biggest names, including Patrick Kluivert, Xavi, and Thomas Müller, and calling him a special talent. It is worth pausing on the boy behind the headline, because the story of how he got to that touchline in the first place says almost as much about him as anything he has done with a ball at his feet. Wythenshawe! Long before Old Trafford, there was Wythenshawe, a sprawling council estate in South Manchester, one of the largest of its kind in Europe, and a place that does not often produce headlines for happy reasons. Rashford was, in his own words, just an average kid from Wythenshawe, and he grew up receiving free school meals like many of his neighbors, having experienced real hardship in his own household. He would later describe those years without sentimentality or self-pity, simply as fact. In his own BBC documentary about food poverty, he recalled that there were times when there wasn't any food in the house at all, so you'd just go to sleep. His mother worked multiple jobs to hold the household together, and Rashford would later say the campaign he eventually built was watching her struggle to put food on the table during his childhood. Football, in that context, was not a hobby so much as an escape hatch. He founded at Fletcher Moss Rangers, a modest junior club in Didsbury that has quietly produced an improbable number of professional footballers from a small patch of South Manchester. Rashford was, in fact, a product of the very same production line as his opposite number on his Premier League debut, Danny Welbeck. Former teammate Chris Smalling remembered the day everyone at United's academy first clocked him. A ball was played in behind during a youth team, and a young Rashford simply zoomed past everyone to reach it, the kind of recall that made the rest of the squad turn and ask who this kid even was. Within weeks of that moment, he was making his first team debut. The rest of Manchester was about to ask the same footballing world would soon be asking. initial explosion did not fade the way many teenage bursts do. A young athlete finished that breakout 2015-16 season with 8 goals and 18 appearances across all competitions, and from there his rise became one of the defining club storylines of the second half of the 2010s. A local kid, an academy product filling a role the club had been searching for since the days of the historic port. He became a fixture for club and country almost simultaneously just months after his club debut. The athlete scored 3 minutes into his national team debut, netting in a match against an opponent at a noted stadium, becoming at the time one of the youngest goal scorers in the nation's history. He would go on to become a fixture of the national forward line across 3 different major international tournaments, eventually earning more than 70 international caps. Under notable past managers, the athlete became the team's most reliable source of directness, an outlet who could turn defense into attack in a single stride. His statistics tell the story of a player operating near the peak of the top league. Seasons of double-digit goal returns, top-tier competition nights, domestic cup and continental silverware. And by his early 20s, a reputation as one of the most feared counter-attacking forwards in the country. But the story that would define this athlete in the public imagination, the one that would eventually see his image painted on the side of a building in his hometown, had almost nothing to do with sport at all. The boy wonder years, his image painted on the side of a building in his hometown, in the public imagination, had almost nothing to do with sport. The letter that moved a government. In March 2020, as the United Kingdom entered its first COVID-19 lockdown and schools shut their doors, more than 1 million children in England who relied on free school meals, as a daily lifeline, suddenly had nowhere to turn. Rashford, still only 22, did not need briefing papers to understand the stakes. He had lived it. He partnered with the food distribution charity Fair Share to help plug the gap left by school closures, a campaign that grew to cover roughly 3 million meals a week for the UK's most vulnerable families when the government moved to end holiday food voucher support over the summer break. Rashford wrote directly to members of Parliament, drawing on his own upbringing to argue that a system built around means-tested support had simply never been designed to let families like his succeed, no matter how hard his mother worked. The government reversed course within days. After Laumacor's initially rejected a Labour Party bid to extend free meals through the school holidays, the public pressure generated by Rashford's letter forced a change of policy. He wasn't finished. That October, he launched a second petition pushing the government to extend free school meals through the Christmas period, functioning for a period almost as an opposition whip. His petition eventually gathered close to 1 million signatures, and cafes, pubs, and restaurants across the country began independently offering free meals to eligible children in a wave of grassroots solidarity his campaign had inspired. The honors followed. He was awarded an MB for his work fighting child poverty, and later received the City of Manchester Award with the city's Lord Mayor, a fellow son of Wythenshawe, calling it a genuinely moving moment between two people from the same estate. A mural of Rash face went up on a wall in Wythenshawe, painted by the street artist Ox, carrying a simple message about struggle and purpose. Within a year, that same wall would become the site of one of the ugliest moments of Rashford's career and one of the most redemptive. Wembley, July 2021. England had not reached a major final in 55 years. On the night of July 11, 2021 at Wembley, they came within a shootout of end weight against Italy. In the final of Euro 2020, the match finished 1-1 after extra time. In the shootout that followed, 3 young England players stepped up and missed: Jadon Sancho, Bukayo Saka, and Marcus Rashford. Italy won the shootout 3-2. All 3 players who missed were black. What followed within hours was not football criticism. A flood of online racist abuse targeted all 3 players, and the Wythenshawe of Rashford was defaced with racist graffiti. An act quickly reported to and investigated by Greater Manchester Police.
Greater Manchester Police.
What happened next, though, is the part of the story that Manchester still tells. Was something close to pride within an hour of the graffiti appearing. Locals began covering with black bags. Hundreds of people at the mural to leave messages, flowers and flags, with crowds taking a knee in solidarity as chants rose from the street. Fans covered the site with hundreds of hand-waving messages of support and affection. Rashford's own response became one of the most quoted footballing statements of that decade. He apologized for the missed penalty. But was unamorous that he would not apologize for who he was, writing that he had grown into a sport where he expected to read things written about himself. Whether about the color of his skin where he grew up, or how he chose to spend his time off the pitch. A local woman named Julie, who had been among the first in Wythenshawe to start covering the graffiti with hearts, put the community's feelings simply that Rashford was one of their own, a son and a brother to the neighborhood, and that Manchester looks after its own. In moments like that, a young black man from Wythenshawe, South Manchester. He closed by simply naming himself. A young black man from Wythenshawe gave a communal love that seemed to draw as what he had already given Manchester as from what had just happened to him. The long fade at Old Trafford. Football, unfortunately, does not pause for redemption arcs, and the years that followed brought United's own institutional chaos, crashing into Rashford's career at the worst possible moments. Erik ten Hag arrived in 2022, and after an initially productive stretch that included Rashford's best ever Premier League tally, the relationship sued. Off-pitch discipline issues, including being dropped for arriving late to a team meeting, and criticism over a well-publicized trip to Belfast, chipped away at the trust between player and manager. Then came Ruben Amorim. Ten Hag was sacked in October 2024 after United slid to 14th in the Premier League, and Amorim arrived from Sporting C as his replacement. The early signs were encouraging, scored 3 goals in Amorim's first 2 matches in charge, but the alignment did not last. A poor performance against Victoria Pleasant in the Europa League saw him substituted before the hour mark, and he was then dropping time for a Manchester derby. United went on to win 2-1, with Amorim telling reporters afterward that the club had tried everything with Rashford, and it simply hadn't worked. What followed was one of the more brutal public breakdowns between a modern manager and a homegrown star. By January 2025, Rashford and Amorim were reportedly no longer on speaking terms, and any personal capacity with the manager addressing him only when speaking to the squad as a whole. And Rashford not played for the club since mid-December due to Amorim's concerns over his attitude and commitment. Amorim was unsparing when pressed on whether a route back existed, telling reporters he would rather select his 63-year-old goal-keeping coach, and describing his decision to freeze the forward out in almost violent terms, insisting there was no way back and warning that Reece and him would signal to the squad that they could ease off too. Amorim was equally blunt in later remarks, stating that the issue was always the same one: training and the standard he expected in every detail, every single day, and that if things didn't change, he wasn't gonna change either. Behind the scenes, a veteran reporter suggested the pattern went back further than Amorim alone. Virtually every manager Rashford had played under at United had, in private, expressed similar frustrations over the years, and that just as reliably, Rashford would go on to answer those doubts with a genuinely strong season. By the end of January 2025, with a permanent Old Trafford exit unresolved and the transfer window closing, Rashford needed a lifeline. He found one at Aston Villa, joining on loan with an option to buy, under a manager whose reputation for reviving stalled careers was already well established, Unai Emery. Amorim's parting words carried a strange mixture of resignation and respect. He admitted he had never been able to get Rashford to see the game or to train the way he wanted, and acknowledge that a player who thrives under one coach can simply be a different player under another. He wished both Rashford and Emery well, calling Rashford a very good player who might yet find the right connection elsewhere. Villa Park and the first signs of life. The Aston Villa loan was brief, roughly the second half of the 24-25 season, in which he managed 4 goals and 17 appearances. But its significance was less about the numbers than about proving something more basic, that Rashford could still function inside a functioning football environment. Under Emery's guidance, he discovered a level of form that had seemed to have vanished entirely at Old Trafford, even if Villa's failure to secure Champions League qualification ultimately made a permanent transfer there financially unrealistic. Emery's methodical, detail-obsessed coaching style, built around positioning, defensive work rate, and the physical directness that had always underpinned Rashford's performances, became, in retrospect, the hinge point of his career's second act. It was enough to convince a much bigger club, one Rashford had reportedly dreamed of representing since childhood, to take a chance. Catalonia. In the summer of 2025, Marcus Rashford signed for FC Barcelona. The move was a loan from Manchester, an option to buy for around 30 million euros at the end of the season. And for a player who had spent the better part of a year exiled from first team football at his boyhood club, it represented as close to a footballing rebirth as the sport offers. Under Hansi Flick, he would be up alongside a front line that included Robert Lewandowski, Rafinha, and a teenage sensation named Lamine Yamal. He settled quickly. During preseason in Asia, he scored in a route of Dake, a composed finish from 12 yards that put Barcelona 5 goals up. His first goal in Barca colors, and an encouraging early sign for a move built around rekindling a lost spark. The doubts, when they surfaced, were familiar ones. Analysts pointed to a pattern that had followed Rashford since 2021, a chronic consistency in which a single 30-goal season had been sandwiched between 3 campaigns where he failed to reach double figures. Barcelona's hierarchy, for their part, refused to rush any long-term judgment. Sporting director Decoed it was too early to talk about decisions for the following season, while source inside the club described Rashford as happy in the city and connecting well and coaching staff alike, adding that a permanent deal was increasingly likely if he kept developing the way he had started, though it remained, in the club's words, only the beginning of the season. By spring, the debate had sharpened into something closer to an ultimatum. 10 goals and 13 assists into the camping reports framed his Barcelona future in stark terms. If he finished the season as a genuinely decisive tackle player, the club would find a way to sign him permanently. If his form dipped, his time in Catalonia would simply end. Then came a El Clasico. A stunning goal against Real Madrid, combined with a strong finish to the campaign, forced both Barcelona's board and coaching staff to seriously reconsider a future that had, at one stage, appeared to be closing. Flick himself specifically requested that the club find a way to keep him. By the time the dust settled on his loan season, the numbers had climbed further still. 48 appearances, 14 goals, 14 assists, with an especially aggressive and committed run of 4 goals and an assist. Across his final 10 matches, leading some inside the club to believe the best version of Rashford had not yet even been seen. It was, by any measure, the best sustained football of his career since his early United years. Proof delivered 800 miles from Old Trafford that the player Van Gaal had once compared to Xavi and Müller had never actually disappeared. He had simply needed an environment built to let him function. The door that didn't open, and yet, for all of it, Barcelona let him go. The finances told part of the story. Despite Rashford's market value being estimated at around 40 million euros, comfortably above his 30 million euro buy option. Barcelona's precarious financial position, under scrutiny over their accounts, and their stated priority to assign a new center-back and center-forward left the club reportedly around 80% likely to waive the option altogether. Rashford's substantial wages, among the highest at the club, made the sums even harder to justify. The final blow came from the transfer market itself. Sources indicated Barcelona remained open to a reduced fee or a second loan spell as late as June 2026, but the club's subsequent signings of wingers Anthony Gordon and Karim Adeyemi effectively closed the door on any Rashford reunion. At the end of July 2026, he said goodbye, posting a message thanking everyone at the club for a positive and memorable experience and wishing Barcelona's every success going forward. The response from the Camp Nou dressing room was warm and immediate, including Galopes, Rafinha, Dani Olmo, and Ferran Torres messages saying their goodbyes, while Barcelona's official account and told him he would always be one of them. Rashford's own reply hinted that the story might not be entirely closed, saying he'd be back one day to support the team. Rashford's Barcelona form had arrived at precisely the right moment to matter for his country. Under New England manager Thomas Tuchel, he earned a place in the squad for the 2026 World Cup in North America. A selection some believed was set in motion, in part by Unai Emery's coaching at Aston Villa, first catching Tuchel's eye from a distance. The tournament itself was a study in contrast with the club form that had earned him the seat on the plane. A World Cup, a World Cup, on the margins, a World Cup, a World Cup, on the margins. He began the tournament in a bench role, scoring in a 4-2 win over Croatia, but failing to make an impact off the bench in a goalless draw with Ghana. In that Ghana match, England's front line looked blunt for long stretches, until Rashford and Bukayo Saka were introduced, delivering several dangerous crosses and creating chances the starters had struggled to generate, though it wasn't enough to break Ghana's resistance. A World Cup, a World Cup, on the margins, a World Cup, a World Cup, on the margins, on the margins. Pressure built for a starting role, though the first half finished goalless. England eventually pulled clear to maintain second half to secure top spot in the group, even as Rashford's own personal impact on the score sheet remained modest. By the numbers, his tournament finished with 3 appearances, 1 goal, and an average rating just below 7. Solid, unspectacular, a supporting note in a deep England run rather than the leading one. It was, in its own way, a fittingly complicated coda to a complicated year. proof he belonged in the conversation again. In August 2026, Marcus Rashford returned to Manchester United. Not by design so much as by default. Having not featured for United in the Premier Leagues since December 2024, and with Barcelona having declined to activate their buy option. His reunion with the club that raised him, one that had seemed almost unthinkable for most of the previous season, suddenly became reality. Barcelona reportedly proposed either a fresh loan or a cut-price permanent deal worth as little as £13 million. But United held firm and made clear there was no room for further negotiation. New manager Michael Carrick, in charge for pre-season, has committed to fully reintegrating Rashford into the first team squad. A notable departure from the Rim era, and one that gives United a recognized option, a left wing and through the middle that they had lacked while he was away. Carrick has already been credited with strongman management, and Rashford's first appearance back in United colours was expected around a mid-August fixture against Ruben Amorim's new club, AC Milan. A match that, had it gone ahead as the storyline suggested, would have closed one of the strangest loops in recent Premier League history. But reiteration and resolution are not the same thing. Reports in mid-August suggest Rashford remains eager to find a permanent way out of Old Trafford, with his path back into regular Premier League football looking increasingly uncertain, and that he was planning to hold talks with Carrick once the squad returned from its pre-season of Dublin. United reportedly need a new attacking option on the left for the 2026 to 2027 season regardless, and rival suitors have can circle in the background, even as his contract keeps him tied to the club on paper for now. Where the story goes next, a slow rebuild under Carrick, a fresh European move, one more loan somewhere that finally sticks, is, as of this writing, genuinely unresolved, which is, in a strange way, the most honest place to leave Marcus Rashford's story for now. Unfinished, still being written, exactly as it has been at almost every major turn since a frightened Danish side let a teenager loose on them one Thursday a decade ago.